Hello everyone and welcome to Chronicles of the Wise. This is where we reminisce with some of the pillars of station society, those on the backs of whom we built this community. Now, if there's any truth to the saying that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, today's guest owns a whole lot of hearts because she's at the top of the class when it comes to cooking. She's not too bad either when she's bringing out the beauty in the ladies. Well, welcome to the Chronicles, Alicia Courtar, or should we say Elise or Lisa, or which way? Welcome.
Lisa.
Lisa. So for the purposes of this conversation, you're Lisa. But we know some people call you Elise as well.
Yeah.
And
Alice
and Alice and all. I said at the front, you own and you're the master of a whole lot of hearts because of your cooking, and done well with the ladies because you had your own hairdressing business as well. We will talk about those things in a while, and about food and what we have now and how we did things back then. But let's talk a little bit about you.
Well,
who you are.
My name is Alicia Courtar, born from Gracelia and Paul Courtar. My mother was Gracelia, my father was Paul, and yeah.
60 plus years ago.
Almost 68.
Yeah, let's say never ask a woman her age. so we'll put it in the region of 68.
Yeah.
Okay. What part of Statia?
Well, we was born and raised in Concordia. That was before the old airport was demolished and the new one was built. We was living down that side, and yeah, it was hard for us growing up, but yeah, I am glad the way my parents brought us up today, so that, hey, when you look and you see the young ones going today, you tell yourself, well, hey, those old time days got to come back again.
Oh, that's good old days.
Yeah, because the children, I don't blame the children that far. I blame the parents.
What do you recall growing up in the area in Concordia there?
Oh,
long young days.
At night, we used to have to go by my grandmother, which was maybe a block from us, even further. But we used to go down there, take the moonlight, and make, jolly, how we must call it, jolly sounds, and yeah.
I can see all of a sudden, like your face just lights up as if you're talking about that. Face just lights up.
It used to be nice. It used to be really nice. We used to have we take the stones and we mark the blocks and we pick up and, and then you jump from one corner to the next.
Hopscotch.
And at a given moment, my father and my grandfather, my brothers and them used to go to hike turtles. And we look in the sky and we see the track from the turtle. You could tell when the turtle coming up to lay because he used to sit in the sky. And just like how
did that work? Tell us.
Yeah. Just like how the clouds form and it take the lead over, just so they used to go and they used to find the turtle right there laying.
Oh, so your father, were able to look at the skies.
Yeah.
And see the turtles are here.
Yeah, because it used to have the track. It used to have the turtle track. Where you see the turtle, you see the track going direct where the turtle is going to lay.
Gosh, it's like being able to predict what's going on by
and sometimes they have more than one turtle. Sometimes they catch all at 3 for a night. But we used to be scared of them. Oh boy. Because they used to be big.
You had a lot of turtles back then?
Yeah. But sometimes, when you think back on, You see Sinapa telling you, don't catch the turtles, don't do this and don't do that. But when you look back on the old time days and you know what you used to know and what you see, you tell yourself, well, hey, something is wrong somewhere. You know, because those days, this part a turtle come up to lay, and those young ones go out. When those young ones ready to multiply, they come back in the same spot where they were born, and they multiply right there.
That's what turtles do.
Yeah.
They still do that.
Yeah.
Don't they?
They still do that. But normally, you know, people will say, oh, it's foolishness and all those kind of things. But when you look back on those old time days, you could predict what is going to happen because you could have seen it, you know. And
I mean, this, you know, didn't have the best of formal education. People like your grandfather didn't have the best of formal education.
exactly. But they were wise. They were wise. When they tell you something is going to happen, look out for it. You know, but
Whether it's the turtles coming,
whether it's the turtles coming or you go and you find, you know, different things, and he used to go, my grandfather used to go and catch, they used to call it sprats with a net down to Salandia. And I could remember too, we used to have like 3 or 4 families. When you have Easter, Christmas, and other special occasion, we used to go to Salandia Beach. And there my grandfather used to throw out the net and all those kind of things, but my grandmother was one of them. Yeah. She was one of them. We used to have to go by her every Christmas to get our cocoa tea and our bread because she used to bake bread. But those days, you know, all of us used to be in one house. You know, like the families come together. And then you had Stella Spanner. She used to go, but when you see Stella Spanner get vexed with you, oh my God. She used to close her eyes, and she used to be like a crazy woman, but when she finished, tell you what she got to say, come darling, you don't worry with them.
and that wasn't Mikey's grandmother.
No, that was Mikey's cousin, I think it is. But his grandmother, every Christmas, we used to leave from her house at Christmas morning, and Christmas Boxing Day, we go by Miss Elaine. Miss Elaine was Elaine Liverock. We used to go by her, and we used to sit down there. All of us used to sleep on the floor. We used to spread sheets and things and sleep on the floor because the whole families had to come together.
And for those of you who are watching this, and you will hear reference to Mikey a lot, and you've heard it in previous, and you will hear it again. And Mikey is Michael Spanner, who is our videographer. He's controlling the camera, he's controlling the sound, he's controlling the everything, and pretty good colleague, wonderful guy to work with and to get this thing done. So, and obviously a lot of our guests are familiar with Mikey or Mikey's family, and so you will hear, although he's out of the shot, he's out of range,
Yeah.
he's in this room with us, and people do connect with Mikey very, very well. I think I needed to say that, and so you'll hear it a lot. So let's get back to those days. You talked about the old airport.
Uh-huh. At that time, we only had maybe 2 or 3 planes coming, but maybe 1 or 2 private planes, and then you have the regular flight that will come in. They used to call it the donkey. That was the plane, you know, it was just a long plane with a long tail. And when it come in, just like how it come in, it used to land. And when it land, you know, the passengers come off, and then you had other one used to come. They used to call it what do you call that other one there? But the pilot was Liddy and Griot. Those was from Sinbad's.
So where was the airport in relation to the current one?
The airport in relation to the current one was almost in the same place, but just they lengthened the airport and then they moved the houses from around the airport. So they make it, it come more this way instead of the other way.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and you also talked about at night. I like the stories that people tell, that at night, when the moon's out, you would go out and sing songs and play games.
Yeah.
Do you recall any other songs that you sang back then?
Well, I know one song they used to sing when it coming around Christmas time, Arise and Open the Door. That one they used to sing a lot. And then they had a man named John White. Oh my God. When my grandmother see him coming, she used to come and close the door.
Why?
He used to say, Miss Alita, please open the door. She said, you better go back where you come from. And it used to be nice. We used to enjoy it. But just that we had a tight schedule with the mother and father, they were very strict. Very strict. And I'm glad that, how my mother and my father rear us, that we could rear our children today. But when you look back on our days to the days that the children have now, I blame the parents a lot.
I want to talk about that in a while, because you've just said something rather interesting here. You were happy with the way your parents raised you.
Yeah.
So you could raise your own children
the same way
they did. But you're also suggesting that something has gone wrong, that today's children aren't raised the way you were raised.
Oh, yeah.
So clearly, there's a breakdown somewhere.
Mr. Johnston, when you look at how we was reared in our days to how the children reared now, we couldn't, after 7 o'clock, you walk on the road if you walk with the parents. But if you think that you're going out to say, well, hey, I'm going by the neighbor, you're going by the neighbor if you're going with your parents. But now today you see the children up and down, 9, 10, 11, all 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning on the street. And that never used to happen. Those days used to have to come back again.
So where did it go wrong? Because if your parents passed it on to you, and you passed it on to your children, I would expect that your children would pass it on to their children.
But that
so
ain't
someone
happening.
stopped somewhere along the way. So
That
where did
ain't
it
happening.
go wrong?
I think what happened, our parents get too free. If we used to say, well, okay, man, we're going to sit down and just like how our parents were, we're going to rear our children, the world might have been a better place today. But when you look back on it and you tell yourself, the way you see children going, sometimes you pass, you can't even tell the children them, morning without the decent word that they're giving you. Let me put it that way. Some of them even tell you, oh, you can't tell me nothing, you're not my mother. No. Hey, I could remember when we used to go, we had a club we used to call the AMG. When we go to that club, you don't really nobody see you on the road talking to a boy. Because if you see anybody go and tell your mother that you was talking to a boy, Mr. Johnson, when you reach home, you is grass. And don't bother tell her, oh, he lying on me, because that's the next one coming. And they used to have a special piece of whip put on right there, so waiting for you.
Oh, no.
One day, Mr. Johnson, we was going across the road. It was me and my sisters was going to the club. And when we reached going to the club, we see this man coming across on a donkey. Now, why don't want like that man, Mr. Johnston? But let me tell you this, Mr. Sayuri, okay? You better behave yourself, you're going to tell your mother about you. Mr. Johnson, okay, I tell her, he could tell my mother, I don't care. And when she reach home, she lick me, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do it again. But when you reach home, you ain't thinking on that, hey, you going home for licks. And when you come back, you ain't coming back to he. Well, Mr. Johnson, he went and he take off his belt to go to beat me that day. And I tell him, I say, anyhow, you put your hand on me today, you will be a dead man. I didn't think on the consequences. But when I reached home, the dead man belt was waiting on me. You know, because, hey, sometimes you used to tell yourself, boy, you wonder, you know, how these people used to get the news. But a tale like the hard telephone like these days what we got, when you look, Mr. Johnson, you reach home. All you're going to hear your mother, your father say, come here. And if your father say, come here first, oh Lord, get a thing of salt water and sit alongside it because you're going to put it on those wounds when he done with you.
How old were you back then?
When we used to go to the club, we was about, let's say, maybe 7 or 8 years. When we used to go to the club. That time, Teacher Taya and them used to teach us in the club, you know. It used to be, we used to have to go out like the 16th of November and all those kind of things, you know, on the road. And we used to have this different clubs meet together. You know, it was really nice. Not like today. Not like today. But it was really nice. I used to enjoy those times.
I can't imagine, I mean, the world has moved, it has grown, it has progressed. As you said, back then there were barely any phones, far less for mobile phones.
We had one phone and that was the telephone up in the tower by the upstairs.
At the fort?
In the fort. In the fort.
Yeah.
They used to, you know, spin up the wheel. That was the old time phones that they used to have. But when the other phones come up, oh my God.
So if someone from Statia wanted to phone somebody, they had to
go down by Lance Radio. We used to have to go by Lance Radio to make the call. That was the only telephone we had outside of the one up in the tower by the fort.
Yeah, so if there were no phone, but today, I mean, you have mobile phones and everybody's on WhatsApp, so things are different now. But
yeah,
clearly, I mean, you got some beatings from your parents.
Oh yes. When you talk about, you see the young girls walking today. When you look, the pieces of thing that they got on, you ask yourself, well, you wonder if they come from the beach. Because, I mean, them kind of thing we could use when we was much younger. Because it's like you're exposing your body. You understand? But when you go and you see these girls today, oh my God.
We are more tolerant now
First of all,
liberal.
You couldn't go out of the yard with a short pants. Think you to go out of the yard with these pieces of scrap boys that I'm wearing today. Serious thing.
Wow. And you said there's a limit in terms of phones.
Yeah.
Certainly no televisions then.
We used to have televisions, but that time it used to be black and white TV. Mm. Not the colored ones that you get now. Maybe in the 70s, 80s, then you used to get the normal color TV. But otherwise to that, we used to just sit down and watch the TV, but the TV used to have a battery. We used to use battery for the TV.
And then everybody gathers to watch $6 million Man.
Yeah.
Things like that.
And it was only a chosen few with a hard fridge or whatever it is. You know, most of the people didn't have fridge and all those kind of things. We used coal pot instead of stove, and yeah, everything get modernized now, but like they say, modern days, modern hell. So, yeah.
A lot of the people with whom I have spoken talked about growing up, having to wake up really very early in the morning,
yes,
get chores done and get ready for school. What was your life like?
Well, we had to get up. We was very poor. In a sense that the poorer you grow up, I think you grow up in a better environment than to grow up in a rich, environment and then be sorry after. Because when we used to go school in the morning, but we used to have to get up like all 4 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning. We used to have to go Gilboa and Venus. That is where spot we used to have to go to dig potatoes and all those kind of things. And when we come back to go school, we done bathe and everything up there. It was me, my brothers, my sisters. We done bathe, we done roast with potatoes, we drink it with milk, because that time, you have really had seldom you find somebody baking bread. And when my mother do bake, it's like on a weekend. That's after we come out of school. But then things was tight for us, so we used to go up in the hill, bring down these bag of potatoes for my mother to sell and all those kind of things in order for us to get, things. But it was I really did enjoy it. To, the life that we have today. I mean, okay, everybody want to upgrade. You understand? But those old time days got to come back again.
And today, if I go to Gilboa or Venus, it's an adventure. I'm hiking.
Yes. And we do so much, we even had a little shack up there where we used to go up there when we father think that we're going to go dig potato in the 4 morning. When we go up there, we don't dig the potato since the day before. We pack them up in the room and then we come down early. We come, Mr. Johnson, if you see us taking the donkey, we put one bag on the donkey, on the crook, and then you got somebody sitting on the other side. And when you look, you reach down there with those bag of potatoes and think they wanted to know how you come back so early. Oh yeah, we used to walk smart head on them.
You still, to this day, wake up early and do stuff, don't you, very often?
Yes, I find myself, ever since I used to, was more younger, and when you got to go to work in the morning time, if you have children, you got to get up so early, fix what you have to fix, and then, because I like to get up, cook, and everything before I go to work. So when I come back from work, I don't have to do that. And if I have to wash, I will wash and everything before I go. So when I come back, I used to make my work easy for myself.
How much did the training, the discipline, the having to wake up very early in the morning to go to Gilboa and Venus for potatoes before you get to school, influence how you lived your life in the later years?
Well, it was much different because you get so accustomed to the habit, or you're going these places early in the morning and then have to come back for 6 o'clock to get ready for 7 o'clock for school, because the school bus never used to make joke. When the school bus coming, it coming. So if you're in there on time and they blow once and you ain't come out, they gone. You understand? So you have to make sure, go up there and come back down early enough to get ready for school, because when we come down, it's only to put on our clothes for school and then you take the bus, you go. And after that, well, hey, but yeah.
What time did you have to get to school for?
For 7.
7 o'clock.
We used to go for 7. But normally everybody gathers there for 7 to be ready for 8 o'clock.
What was school life like back then?
It was good, but the only thing, we had some teachers, oh boy. We had Miss Paula, she used to pong us on with knuckles and all them kind of things when we don't listen. And she used to say, bench is bank and bank is bench. When she pong you on your knuckles, she gonna pong the bench and she gonna pong you on your knuckle too. So,
pound your knuckles with what?
She used to have a long ruler, and it was square. But when she go in, she hit you with a ruler on your knuckle. Oh, you have 2 instead of 1.
That is torture.
No, we call it torture today. Today, you can't hit the children. But if the children used to get licks like how we used to get them before, Mr. Johnson, they would have been much better than they is today.
Let me go a little bit personally. I have raised two, I think, wonderful children. Two of the best children in the world I've raised. Never beat them. I never beat them.
Well, it's
Because I got a lot of blows when I was growing up. I mean, if you know what they bit you, and I wouldn't cry. I just would not cry. You know, I guess I probably didn't want to give, because I had a grandmom, got a mom, got a grandmom. You know, so you got aunts, they're all older than you are, and they all, you know, take turns at making sure that you got your share of it. And so you just don't cry. So they beat you again so you could cry. But you don't cry, so they beat you again.
Exactly.
And my brother was the other way. My brother, the moment they touched the whip, he's screaming. And they beat him to shut up. You know, so,
well, Mr. Johnson.
and neither of us beat our children.
When my father licked us, from the time we see him coming with a stick, he didn't touch us, but we used to bawl because we know what coming behind. You understand? So, yeah. I mean, okay, I never used to beat my child. Once I remember beating my child, and I tell myself not again. Because beating a child doesn't make sense. You know? When you think you bringing that child better, you're making it worse. If you sit down and you speak to that child normal, like how I speaking to you, that child understand you better than if you beat it.
Yeah, Stephen and I got all of the licks, you know, the others, Len and Pete and Franny.
But you learn from
you got to that.
But you learn from it and you become a better person.
Yeah, I learned not to beat my own children.
Good.
Right. But, you know, but it's about you. This is not about us. This is about you growing up. And so you're at school, and the teacher, what was her name? Who would pound your
Miss
your
Paula.
knuckles. Miss Paula will pound your knuckles with a ruler and stuff. But you said you enjoyed school.
Yes,
very much.
because it makes us better children, and it make you understand life better. And when they speak to you, they wasn't speaking to you for their own good, they were speaking to you for your own good. But then I had liked Teacher Thea. Teacher Thea used to come, and she used to say, come darling, you know, she was one of that type, you know, she used to hug you and make you feel at home. But at a given moment too, we used to have to go by Teacher Thea when we come from school, and sometimes we have weeks there, sometimes we have months. She was part of our mother, she used to rear us. But Teacher Thea and her sister Louise, God rest them in their grave, they was two nice teachers. Two real nice teachers they was. When they see a child come to school and that child don't have it, they give it. You know, not that the children looking for it or asking for it, but they see, well, okay, that child need it, the parents don't have it, and they give it. But they used to when we come from school and we don't listen to our mother, she used to say, okay, I'm going to take them for this week. I'm going to take them, when that week going to come a month, and that month going to come a next month, and a next month. Tell when you behave yourself. But when we over there, we know we can't misbehave. Because Teacher Thea, her mother was like cold water, and Teacher Thea was like cold water too. But when she talked to us, and you see her raise those eyebrows, and you see her roll up those eyes, hey, you better listen to Teacher Thea. Because, when you see her pull off the belt, she ain't going to hit you, but the minute she raise it, you don't start to bawl. Because you know what coming. You understand? But those days was nice days. Really nice days.
I'm getting the sense from you, which I got the same thing from everyone else with whom I've spoken, that there was quite some community. Each one helps the other.
Yes.
Everyone had everyone else's back, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Yeah.
I remember, Mr. Johnson, when my father and my grandfather and them was building a house. Even when I built my house, we never used to go and say, well, okay, you know, you're going to pay the laborers. No. They're going to tell you, well, okay, get so and so and so, get the cement and the sand and whatever. And when they come, you're going to cook your pot of food, and that's their payment. But today you can't do that. You can't ask nobody to help you because nobody helping you. And even if you got your money, you can't get the thing done. You understand? But that's the way we used to go through the community, helping each other build a house. You know, this person going to build a house tomorrow, you go and you cook a pot of food tomorrow and you carry it for them. That's the way we used to pay people. But people see you got a big house, so they want to know, hey, we wish she got a house, she ain't walking away. It got to be she was doing something bad, maybe she was using drugs or whatever it is. Foolishness.
It's people helping people.
People helping people. We used to live in the community with each other, but not today.
People looked out for each other.
Yeah.
And looked out for each other's children as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Did they have, as I've been told in the past, did people who were not your parents feel that they could pull that belt, as you talked about, and whip you on the street if they were not happy with the way that you were behaving? Because I've heard that a lot of people said, you know, an adult, any adult, you know, in the community would discipline you.
Yeah.
If they, and that was fine if your parents and if you went
and
home
don't
to complain.
don't go home to complain, because the first thing they're going to tell you, if it wasn't something wrong you was doing, they were not going to scold you or they were not going to beat you. It had to be something wrong you was doing, make they do that. So then you had to speak up. But yeah.
We've got to talk about, you know, the things that you've been doing. We said at the top of this interview that you have found your way through many a person's heart.
Oh, yes. Well, Mr. Johnson, let me tell you something. I don't know, sometimes I wonder where they come from, and I wonder, you know, who the people are. Because sometimes I find people in my yard that I don't even know. But my mother and my grandmother always used to tell us, when you see somebody come by you, always offer them something to eat or to drink. Because you never know. You might just save that person's life because that person might not have it at home, and they come by you and you give it to them. You never know that you could have saved that person's life. You understand? So I always, if I get up in the morning, I never cook one plate of food or two plates of food. I always cook a third plate in case if anybody come, they could always get a plate of food.
Where did you learn to cook?
My grandmother. I learned to cook for my grandmother. My grandmother and my mother, okay, my mother never had much time with us because she used to work 2 and 3 jobs in order to, you know, make ends meet in the home along with my father. He used to work with the government. But then at a given moment, you had to end up helping your grandmother cook, helping your mother cook. Sometimes you got to cook a pot of food and you wanted to know how you get a pot of food done. But you used to have to cook it. And make sure you cook it good too. Because if you don't cook it good, they're going to tell you, make sure you don't do it like how you do it yesterday. Otherwise, if you do it like how you do it yesterday, when I come home, I'm going to show you that pot of food and you're going to end up cooking it again. You don't want to go back to cook that pot of food because when you go back to cook that pot of food, it licks you get in. Yeah.
So you grew up cooking.
Yeah.
Clearly you enjoy it.
I love to cook. I love to cook. Believe you me, I love to cook and bake. I don't want to turn around and do it like how I used to do it before. But I have a lot of children coming by me that I call my own. You understand? And those, even grown-ups, sometimes they come, they sit down, we laugh, we talk, you know, we eat, we drink, and everybody feel good.
I've had people who said to me, you know, that, oh, she was such a fantastic cook. She used to, you know, prepare meals for people and all of that. So you actually went into doing that, did you not? catering to...
Yeah, I used to use, let's say, I used to work in restaurants before, cooking and baking. But I tell myself, you know, hey, it don't make sense you working for people. They're taking advantage of you, and then when done, you could sit down home and do it yourself. I never sell food or nothing. Anybody come by me can get a plate of food. Because I always tell myself, where there's a will, there's a way. And as long as you have God on your side, He would always see you through no matter what. Once you help somebody, I'm not looking for no blessings or whatever it is, you know, how must I say?
or rewards.
Our rewards. My rewards come from God.
It's unbelievable for some people who would look at this and say, goodness me, you love this thing, clearly, it's a passion.
Yeah.
But you decided not to make a business
Out of it. No.
You could be pretty well off.
That is true.
You could have been pretty well off.
But I prefer it that way. I prefer, you know, when somebody come by me, I help them out or whatever it is, have you. But to go and sell food or, I ain't there with that one.
What's your favorite dish?
Hi. My favorite dish is saltfish and dumpling, and when you come with your pea soup, and then you cook your fish, and you know, but I love my pea soup. I love a soup.
It's Tisha Day. We're recording this really just ahead of the Tisha Day, where obviously everything Tisha, the pride of Tisha comes out during that week leading up to the 16th of November. And the pride of Tisha will include food, won't it? You know, the things that you cook. If, as a visitor to the island, they come and say, I want something that is uniquely, undoubtedly station, what would you prepare for me?
Well, normally you use your goat meat. You use your provision. You use your pea soup. Those is the main dishes normally station use. And then you have your fish.
Goat meat and fish.
You have your goat meat, you have your saltfish and provision, you have your pea soup. All of those are station meals.
Are you worried that when it comes to food, that we're moving away from
the culture?
Definitely.
Definitely we have, you know, if you have, select for instance, we have station day today. You go down, you cook your saltfish, your provision, your saltfish with dumpling, then you use your goat meat with your peas and rice, and you put your other stuff around it, and then you have, what you call it, you have your saltfish, you have your goat meat, and you have your fish. And your pea soup.
And your pea soup.
All of those, you know, I consider station culture. But when you have to put, you know, different stuff inside of it, and you don't have the culture there.
It's interesting. I want to go back to something you said very early on, that you went and you had your potatoes and milk, you know, for breakfast.
Yeah, because at that time, you never used to have bread like how we got it now. Now you could go anywhere, you buy bread or whatever it is. But before we go to school in the morning, we never used to eat bread. We eat the potato. We take the potato, we roast it in the fire, and we use it with milk.
With milk. Now...
That was our breakfast.
Yeah, now it's bread and
And tea.
Vienna sausage.
Yes.
Corned beef. Do people eat corned beef here?
Yes. Most people like corned beef.
Yeah. Okay. Now, we also have mentioned you had your own hair stuff that you did.
I used to do hair before, yes. But then after, I just leave it off just like that. You know?
What attracted you to that, to the hair?
Because I used to like to do people hair. Okay, the plaiting and all those kind of things, I wasn't into that because I was a handicap when it come to plaiting and all those kind of things. But relaxing people hair, you know, and curling and all those kind of things. All like teacher Taya and all of them used to come by me to do the hair and all them kind of stuff. But then, yeah, after a while, you know, when you're getting older, you don't feel good today, you get up tomorrow, you feel good, you know, you tell yourself, well,
And you did the nails as well, don't you?
No.
No? You never
The toes, yes.
The
The
toenails, but not.
pedicure. But not the fingers.
Okay. So let's, as we've reminisced quite a bit, talked about what it was like in the old days, as when you look at today and you look into the future, how would you like to see Stacia 10, 15, 20 years from now?
Well, I mean, okay, they say Stacia in the process of rebuilding. But let me tell you something. I think if we could take a step back and go back to those old time days and things that they used to do in those old time days, because even to the when you look at it, the carpenter and the mason and all those kind of things, they didn't went school. They didn't went school to do that. But they had the brains, they know how to do it. And even to the young ones learn from their parents how to do it without going to school. Now they have the school and thing, you can teach them. But in those days, they didn't have it. You understand? They got a cooking classes. Now, you can't tell a child, well, hey, go in the kitchen, go cook that piece of food. But they knock you around with a pot. Mr. Johnson, they ain't going to the store thinking to go cook food. They're looking for a mommy put on there for that. But otherwise to that, if mommy ain't put it, I ain't going to eat it because I ain't cooking it. That's the way they think about it.
So we've got to teach our children from a very young age.
A very
to be in
young
the kitchen
age.
with you.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Well, we're not going to go to Venus and Gilboa anymore because there are no potatoes up there anymore. It's for hiking these days. But I'm sure that there are still things that you can do. In terms of mentally and to a certain degree physically, how did waking up early, going up the mountains, doing all of this help you along the way and the lessons that you've learned?
Well, in a sense, the lessons that you learned from it, it was very nice because we used to enjoy it. You understand? But to put somebody to go up there to hike now, I don't think they would be able to find the tracks thing here to go, you know, up there and say, well, okay, hey, I'm going up there to hike. You have to have, we used to just have to move the stones and thing, and we make our own track and thing to go up there. But they used to have little huts and thing, we used to go in, you know, pack up with potatoes and all those kind of thing inside of it. But now you don't see nobody doing that no more. Because over there now, it would come like it too far for them to go and, you know, plant potato and yam and all those kind of things. And then again, we had goats and thing up there, so, yeah.
I'd like you to leave with those who are watching, especially a younger generation who might be watching this, a lesson, one lesson from your early days that they can learn and apply to their own lives. What's that lesson?
Well, I would say, Mr. Johnson, and for all who are listening out there, when you have children, even if you don't have, you make somebody else's child your own. And you tell yourself, how I would want somebody treat my child, I would like to treat, that person the same way. I don't want you to think to yourself that you're better than nobody else. I don't want you to think to yourself, well, hey, man, she talking because she got a mouth or whatever it is. My experience was very good when we was growing up. The way they handle us, we paying off for it today.
The licks notwithstanding. Thank you so much. I appreciate the moments that you have spent with us and the lessons that you have shared. And well, that's our program for this week. I hope you join us again next time for more Chronicles, when we meet and sit with and speak and laugh with some of the most riveting and wisest people that we've got in Statia. Until then, from all of us here at GIS Statia, it's goodbye.